Welcome back, everyone. This is PSN, and I'm your host, Artie Decker. Let's just jump right into week 6. We're back for the most part in region play. Everybody, these are some huge games as far as positioning and as far as some teams even just making the playoffs. So we're back to that week of just you got to win. As to where last week was kind of just win for bragging rights. Just looking at this week, though, we're going to start here in 7A. You got Gadsden City going into Buckhorn. Buckhorn coming off a pretty good win over a really good Mae Jemison team. And Gadsden City having taken care of business the last 2 3 weeks, except for last week. Last week kind of took it on the chin from Park Crossing 65-21, so they're looking to bounce back. Um, This game should be fairly close, but I would say probably Gadsden City by around 14 points thereabouts. I mean, it'll be semi close, but just not any barn burner type style. Looking on, we have Hewitt Trustful rolling into Bob Jones. This is a big matchup. Both teams, I believe, are ranked. I know Hewitt Trustful was number 4 last week. I think Bob Jones might have snuck back in at about 9 or 10. Also, a huge region matchup. But look for Paul Tyson and the Huskies to get the win. And I don't necessarily I don't look at this matchup as being as close as some do. I think Hewitt should win this thing quite easily and shock some folks. Got Huntsville rolling into Sparkman. Look for Sparkman to just keep on rolling because Huntsville just hasn't done a whole lot this year. We have James Clemens rolling into Grissom. James Clemens looking to bounce back after that a little bit of a surprising beatdown from Clay Chalkwell. And Grissom playing some pretty good ball, so could be a good opportunity for them as well. But I would have to probably lean towards the Jets on this one. You got looks like Oak Mountain rolling into Hoover. Oak Mountain coming off a whooping they took from Thompson. Don't expect anything less in this matchup. Hoover's just too strong for them, and they should roll as well. You got Thompson, as we just spoke of. They're rolling in the Vestavia Hills. They're off to their best start since 1989. I mean, it's been a long time since the Thompson Warriors have been relevant, and Tagliova has been a huge part of that. We got Blunt rolling into Spanish Fort. Blunt having coming off another loss to a really good team, McGill Tulin. Um, if you want to play, I guess, if so fat so with these two teams, you got McGill Tulin played Spanish Fort early in the year and give Spanish Fort their only loss 27-20 as to where McGill, I believe, won their game over Blunt 27-9. I would have to go with the Toros in this battle. They've been here, they've done that over the last few years. As where Blunt is trying to get back there, but they're just not quite all the way back just yet. So look for the Toros to win this big matchup uh, in that region. Speaking of another region battle, Coleman at Pell City. Um, this is a big game for Pell City because they're trying to stay in the race for that third and fourth spot. And Coleman, they've kind of got the inside track to potentially being number 2 in that region. So this is another huge game for them as well. But I do like Coleman to win. Pell City's good, but I don't think they're as good as Coleman. Same region, uh, basically same scenario. Fort Payne trying to stay in the hunt for number 3, possibly number 2. You got Brewer just trying to sneak in the playoffs, coming off a big win over Arab, 25-7. Fort Payne a bitter loss to a good Etowah team, 27-24. A lot of people have actually kind of went for the upset this week and picked Brewer. It's kind of the sexy pick this week, but the more and more I've kind of wavered on this game. I looked at it last year. Brewer actually won this game 34-9, but it's a different Fort Payne team, um, and honestly a different Brewer team too. But uh, I I think Fort Payne's going to get everybody back that they didn't have last week. I kind of feel like Ellis might have rested them a little bit. It not being a region game, I think they'll be back this week, and it'll be close. But I like the Cats to get the win and stay in the chase. You got Southside rolling into Oxford. Oxford's on a roll as always, and then Southside on the other hand, I believe they've only won one game this year, so really disappointing season for the Panthers. And if misery loves company, they're going to have plenty to be right there with them because Oxford should roll in this. You got Boaz rolling into Crossville. Crossville's trying to bounce back after a heart crutching loss to a really good Rams team last week, 42-28. And Boaz just trying to find a win. And it's just not going to be against the Lions. And Blanton Jones should have a big night and get them back on the winning track. Douglas rolling into Gunnersville. Poor Douglas. They take beatings every week. It seems. The best opportunity they've had all season to win a game last week against Friendly Mountain. Lost 25-6. If discouragement is the word, it may not even be a strong enough word. Then that kind of result. And Gunnersville really playing some pretty good ball, coming off a little bit of a shocking win, especially the way they done it over a beat up Madison County team, 35-13. Look for Gunnersville to roll by the river. Yeah, Etowah going into Arab. Arab just hapless, just really cannot get much going. And Etowah playing a pretty solid ball. Look for the Blue Devils to roll in that one. Jackson, a team that everybody's kind of forgotten in in that classification, rolling into St. Paul. Uh, these two teams have always battled for that South title, and look for Jackson to give them all they want. These two teams don't like each other. They're big rivals. I know a lot of people think Jackson's kind of took a step back this year, but look for that to be a close game, closer than you think. And I believe it's 9-2, but I like St. Paul's to sneak out of there with a win. As we look down, we got Scottsboro rolling into Alexandria. The Valley Cubs coming off a big win over a struggling Cleveland County. As to where Scottsboro, to me, kind of a shocker. We picked North Jackson to win that game, and they were up at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, 21-14, and then just I don't know what happened in the second half. Scottsboro just rolled over them 56-27. I no idea. I mean, Coach Jacobs must have given a great speech at halftime or something, and they come out fired up and took care of business. He's going to have to do it again if they're going to win this one. Alexandria traditionally really tough at home, and expect nothing less Friday night. And I like Alexandria to win this thing quite easily, and Scottsboro just to continue to tumble in this region. You got Cherokee County rolling into sacks. A lot of people have picked Cherokee County, just not even really thinking about it. But Sachs has really put it together an impressive year quietly. I mean, they're 5-0. Very few people could tell you that, um, except for obviously in that area. But they really have had a great year, and I'm kind of riding that train. I'm gonna say that they're gonna pull the upset. They're gonna knock off Tyrone Dupree and the Warriors in this and take, you basically could say, control of that number two spot in that region. Here's another story we've kind of followed all season. You got Hanley who is now 0-5, and they get a really pretty decent Childersburg team coming to town in a region battle. Uh, so don't expect them just to automatically get that first win. I think it's going to be an epic battle, but I feel like Hanley's playing a little bit better every week. And we're going to say that they're going to put it together this week and they're going to get their first win uh, to just kind of stop the bleeding at this point. You got DAR rolling into Madison County. I believe Madison County is supposed to get Tate Rubens back this week. I'm not positive on that, but that would be a huge, huge thing if they could. And DAR coming off of, we kind of picked it, but a shocking win to some over rather Geraldine. Um, so look for this to be a pretty epic battle, but I would probably have to go ahead and give Madison County the upper hand, but it's going to be a lot closer than what you would think. Looking on, you got Haleyville rolling into Madison Academy. Madison Academy uh, kind of putting it back together. Getting off such a rough start kind of shocked everybody. They're trying to climb back in the polls week by week, and Haleyville really not playing that well. So look for the Mustangs to get the win in that one. Oaks Bluff going into Aniana. Aniana is coming off one of their biggest wins of the year, but it ain't saying a whole lot because they beat a very mediocre Susan Moore team 65-28, and the Eagles are definitely not Susan Moore. So look for Oaks Bluff to get the win and kind of rain on that, I guess, turnaround parade for the Indians, or rather the Redskins. You got Jacksonville going into Asheville. Jacksonville should win that one quite easily, just taking care of business. We got Randolph rolling into Stevenson. Randolph's really playing some good ball, and North Jackson just, I don't know, it's kind of a rebuilding year for them. That kind of really showed itself last week in that rivalry game with Scottsburg. So look for Randolph to win this and possibly win it pretty easily. This is definitely a battle that Have circled on this week's uh, list. You got Rogers, who I believe is number 2, rolling into number 7, if I'm not mistaken. Deschler. Huge, huge, huge 4A battle because the winner of this game will take control of that region. I believe going to first place outright. Rogers is really playing well, but we picked the upset win for Deschler over Colbert County, which they pulled off 35-20, and we're going to go with that upset win again. Deschler just really playing some great ball and doing it really quietly and getting no love whatsoever. But I think we're going to see it this week, and they're going to get the win over the Rogers Pirates. Sardis taking on Westminster Christian. Sardis seems to really be playing well defensively, and Westminster's had some trouble scoring over the last few weeks as they run into the tougher part of their schedule. And look for Sardis to get the win in a key battle of this region. You had Clements rolling into Colbert County. Colbert County shouldn't have any trouble with that one, and take another step forward for them as well. Geraldine going into Brindley Mountain. Geraldine is kind of, uh, I guess you could say, quietly 1-4. I mean, most people look at that team and would think that they would be a 3-2, maybe even a 2-3 team, but they are 1-4, folks. I mean, they've lost to some really good teams. You lose to number 1 and 2A Fife. You lose to number 10 and 3A uh, Plainview, um, and then you lose to almost pretty close to being ranked Sardis team. I mean, they've lost to some good football teams, and of course, last week, nobody gives them credit, but DAR plays some pretty good ball this year. So look for them to really just relieve some frustration as they go over there to take on Brindley Mountain and get the win in this one. You got another game we've kind of circled this week. Huge, huge battle in 3A. These two teams don't like each other. It seems like they always battle for the region title every single year in that South region, anyway. Um, Gordo, I believe, is number three, possibly. Not positive on that, but they're going to take on Oakman, who has, I believe, number seven. Oakman is undefeated, and Gordo does have a loss. Um, this game last year, it was built pretty big, and I think Gordo won it somewhere around 35-14. Gordo usually wins this matchup, and I've kind of looked at Oakman. Oakman is undefeated, but it's kind of a soft schedule. It's like they kind of played the softer part of the region is where Gordo started at the top. Look for Gordo to kind of expose them and get another win in this rivalry. You got Pennington, another huge battle region wise because the winner of this one will take control of first place as well. Pennington playing pretty good ball for them. I mean, traditionally, this is not a great program, but they're really playing well this year. They've only lost one game, and that was to Boaz, I do believe, in a bigger classification. And then you got Fultondale, who's quietly, really quietly, 5-0 and rolling through 3A so far. Um, but look for Fultondale to get the win. Pennington, like I say, playing pretty well, but look for Fultondale to just take advantage of the home field advantage and get the win in this one. Lauderdale County going into Lexington. I like Lauderdale County all day long on that one. New Hope going into Higdon to take on North Sand. New Hope's really not playing well at all, and the Bison are coming off a kind of a collapse, I guess you could say. They were up by 21 points at 1 point over Adder and had to let them come back and had to win it in overtime. But the thing I think I would take positively for the Bison is the fact that they're really moving the ball well for a change. As to where early in the season they really struggled to move the ball. So look for the Bison to get the win and probably do it quite easily over a hapless Indians team. Ohatchee going into Welborn. A lot of people have picked Welborn in this one. I know I've picked against Ohatchee quite often this season, but I actually like Ohatchee to get the win in this one. You got Piedmont going into Weaver. Weaver, I believe, is number six, but it's kind of a paper number six. They hadn't really played anybody. Their only loss was to Ohatchee, which is not saying a whole lot because they're kind of in that same boat. And look for Piedmont to really expose them. Cardavian Myers have a big night, and the Bulldogs are rolling this one. You got Sylvania going into Pisgah. Pisgah can't stop anybody. And Spears and the Rams really playing well, throwing the ball. And then if you can stop that, then you still got to deal with Shavers, who's just really running it well, hard to bring down. And that offensive line is just nasty, and they'll just push you around and look for them just to dominate and win big over Pisgah as they just keep on heading towards that collision course for Plainview. You got Asbury going into Gaston. Both teams haven't won a game, haven't even sniffed a win. So something's got to give. Somebody's got to win this ball game. Look for Coach Morris to put it together and get the first win of the season for the Bulldogs. You got Fayetteville rolling to Lynette. Lynette's coming off a win over a bigger classification in Hanley. Fayetteville's just not very good. Look for Lynette to roll and to just continue to show their dominance in that region. Huge battle. I definitely got this one circled on the calendar. You got Adder rolling in the section. You look at this matchup traditionally, and we'll just say you're out of your mind already. How's this important? But section's really playing well. Um, Adder, uh, you know, had high hopes, I guess you could say, and just kind of got embarrassed against Fife. And then last week had a high hopes to knock off North Sand, and it just didn't quite happen. But they're looking to get back into region play and just continue to take advantage of what they should be doing. I mean, that this is a team that is definitely uh, should be entrenched in that third spot, if not that fourth spot, and they just want to continue to show these up and coming teams, kind of like your Westbrooks and your sections and your Collinsville's, who is that entrenched number three, if not number two, in that region. So look for Tinker and Company to get the win, but it to be really, really close. I mean, if you know me, you know I love this section team, but I just don't think they're ready to take this step just yet. So I'm going to go with the Hornets on that one. As this is a huge battle because the winner will likely take control of that third spot. You got another big region showdown. Winner takes over first place. Mars Hill rolling into Celigent. Celigent, I believe, is undefeated. Mars Hill is coming off their best start in school history. They've already had the best season they've ever had at 4-2. Um, having only been 2-8 is their best record ever. I mean, it's not saying a whole lot because I know this program's young. It's only about 5, maybe 6 years old. But still, they got to be excited with an opportunity to take over first place in that region. But it's not going to happen. They're kind of a paper 4-2, and I like Celigent to kind of bring them back down to earth in that. You got a lot of people have this matchup circled. To me, this is not. I mean, you look at it, technically, yes, it is kind of a region title game, but I just don't. There's too much of a gap between these teams. Last year, a lot of people built this matchup up, and if I'm not mistaken, 5 won like 31-0, 38-0, somewhere in there. Just really embarrassed Coach Chestnut and his Wildcats. They really have had a hard time scoring, and Fife has done a great job in region stopping people. So look for that just to continue. And, Fife coming off a big win over Plainview, I just expect more of the same. I mean, to me, honestly, if the Wildcats could stay within 21, that would be a win for them in my eyes. And I like Fife to roll in this one. You got Tanner going into Cleveland. Normally, this would not be that big of a matchup, but Tanner's really struggling. And, I kind of battled on this one too. But, a few weeks ago, we picked West End to beat Cleveland. Cleveland come up with a win. Cleveland also beat the team that beat Tanner 2 weeks ago, Winston County. So I'm going to go with if so, fat so, and I'm going to say that Coach Gillan and Cleveland sneaks out of there with a win, and the Tanner troubles continue as the Rattlers are on a nosedive at this point. Speaking of West End, they roll into a hapless Cold Springs. Look for the Patriots to get the win in that. You got Westbrook going into Collinsville. I believe it's homecoming for Collinsville. This is a huge, huge, huge matchup. A few weeks ago, I would definitely have picked the Warriors just because of experience. But, Collinsville is really gaining confidence and just kind of steamrolling over the last few weeks, just really playing well offensively as to where Westbrook just can't score very much and just basically got out of there by the skin of their teeth against Section, which is it's a, as we said, really playing well, but, uh, you know, I don't know talent for talent if Collinsville's not better between those two. Look for this to be a battle, but I'm going to go with the upset. I like the Panthers to get the win, and in part maybe take control of that fourth spot in this region. You got Coach McWhorter and his Cedar Bluff Tigers going into Valley Head. Valley Head coming off a bye week. Cedar Bluff has just been rolling in region the last few weeks. Look for more of the same. Fife and Company are just too much. I know Isaiah Jones likely will not be back. I believe they're still resting Ivory Star, just kind of rolling with Fife and Hampton at quarterback. Look for them just to be a little too much. Valley Head could play well, and it could be a 21-point margin thereabouts, but I think that would be a definite victory for Knapp if they could find a way to stay within 21. But do look for the Cedar Bluff Tigers to get the win and continue to just hold a stranglehold on this region. This is a big battle in 1A. You got Decatur Heritage coming off first time ever 5-0 start for them, and then they're rolling into Addison, who's I believe only lost one game, so they're just a huge matchup. If I'm not mistaken, both of these teams are ranked maybe like 9 versus 10, somewhere in that ballpark. Uh, Big battle, but I'm gonna have to give Addison just a little bit of an edge. I think they're a little more experienced. They've been here, done that kind of thing, and plus it's at home, which they play really well at home. And I'm gonna have to go with Addison on that one. Looking down the list here, we have, let's go with Spring Garden rolling into Coosa Christian. Coosa Christian coming off a loss to Victory Christian 38-27. Spring Garden coming off a pretty impressive homecoming win over a decent little Donahoe team 34-14. Look for Coach Howard and company to go into Coosa and this is another big battle because the winner of this game, if I'm not mistaken, will take over number two in that region. Which starting the season, a lot of people uh, just kind of automatically give it to Garden. But I've said all season I really like this Coosa team. They seem like they get better every week, as the season goes. And you might say, well, they took some blowouts. Yeah, they have. I mean, but they're in that process of building, and that's just part of it. You're gonna have those growing pains. There're gonna be those weeks where you're just not gonna play very well. And you're gonna take a beating, but you have the potential. Um, Early in the season, I might actually pick Coosa to win this ball game. But Coach Howard and company, they do a great job. They took their young guys and I think they progressed a little quicker than what I expected. And look for Ben Ivory and company to get the win, but it could be pretty tight for a little while. But I look for them to pull away late and get a big win and pretty much put a stranglehold on that number two spot in the region. You got Woodville going into Gillsville. Once again, these two teams battling for that fourth spot. Gillsville's kind of on life support at this point. They're just not really playing well at all. Believe they're 0-5. They took a beating from a very mediocre Appalachian team last week, 35-0. It might have been their best shot to win a ball game all season. Woodville actually coming off kind of a surprising win over R.A. Hubbard, 21-20. So look for Woodville to build on that and get the win and keep their name in the hat for that fourth spot in the region. Let's just switch gears and let's look at this week's polls. You got Central Phoenix City at number one, just continuing to hold a stranglehold over that as Hoover just keeps trying to chip away as best they can at number two. Thompson with the first place vote as they've had for the last few weeks at number three. Hewitt at four, looking to get another huge win over number 10 Bob Jones this week. McGill Tulin playing some really good ball at number five. Spain Park hanging in there with Braxton Barker and company at number eight. Mountain Brook, another team we've talked about all season, got that really good running back playing really well at number nine. You got Sparkman just nipping at everybody's heels there at number 11. They're just begging and pleading to get in the top 10. A little bit of a surprise. Grissom, we've talked about all season, having a great year, new coach, new attitude. They all of a sudden are at number 13, looking to get a big win and sneak in there as well. You got Austin still stranglehold at number one, Oxford at two, Pinson Valley at three. Uh, One note about Pinson Valley, they're going to be off this week, but they got a win over Shades Valley last week, 28-27. It's a rivalry game for them. Bo Nix did not play. They have a young kid by the name of Barry White. He was the 10th grader, stepped in, played really well, and was able to get them the win. You might even say the kid is you know probably the future of the program if it's not for Bo Nix being in his way. Uh, but they managed to get the win, and I guess that's really all that matters. as he tries to recover. You got Spanish Fort slipping up in there to that number 5 spot. Saraland moving up to 7. Ramsey dropping after taking a whooping from Grayson, Georgia last week at number 8. Sidney Lanier, first time they've been ranked since 2000 at number 9. Ben Russell coming off a hard fought game with Oxford. They really didn't get blown out. It was 20-7, pretty respectable. And they only drop a spot to number 10. Blunt drops out altogether at 11. Clay Chalkwell coming up big win over the Jets at number 12. Muscle Shoals just keeps knocking on the door there at 13. Park Crossing same way, as they put a beating on Gadsden City at about 14 there. Briarwood holding strong at number 1. A lot of people thought they might go down last week to Mortimer Jordan, but they were able to get the win 25-17. You got St. Paul actually picks up some first place folks, though. They're at number 3 this week. You got Beauregard at 4, Winona at 5, and the Valley Cubs continue to move up the board at number 6. Etowah, another big win over Fort Payne at number 7. Mae Jemison takes a little bit of a drop to number 8. As we talked about earlier, Jackson, number 9, taking on number 2. St. Paul, they could really move up the board and prove some folks wrong with a win this week. Mortimer Jordan at 13. Looking on the 4A, Andalusia is your new number 1 in 4A, as Leeds took the loss to Piedmont last week, so that dropped them out of that first place spot. The Andalusia with 21st place votes. A lot of people really like this Rogers team, so I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to be a shocker when Deschler, who moved up to actually number 6 this week, goes in there and gets the win, in my opinion. You got UMS right at number 3 rather. You got Thomasville coming off a big win also. They slip up in that 4 spot and they impress somebody because they got a first place vote this week. So just keep an eye on them. You got Fayette County dropping to number 8 as they lost to Coleman last week. You got Holtz Bluff still holding strong at tied for 8. You got Tallahassee, who got a big win. They're at number 10. You got Sachs. There's that team I was talking about, just kind of sneakily 5-0. All of a sudden, they're at number 11. Alabama Christian off of one of the best starts they've had since, I believe, the late 90s. It's been a long time since that program's been as successful as it has been. They're at 12. You got Madison Academy still sneaking around there at about 15, looking to find a way to get back in there. You got in 3A, Mobile Christian is still holding strong at number 1. You got Piedmont with only 1 first place vote. All of a sudden, Steve Smith's Bulldogs getting a little bit of disrespect, if you ask me. But to me, they're still your champs. I mean, this is not no flash in the pan. We're talking dominant back-to-back champions looking for three-peat. To me, that's very disrespectful, if in my view, anyway. Gordo at 3, Randolph at 4. Randolph, really good team. Don't ever sleep on them this season. I mean, as I've told some folks, in my opinion, Randolph County is the number 2 team in the North in 3A, by all means. Ohatchee, we talked about them all season, kind of a paper number 5, but nevertheless number 5. We were at 6, Oakman at 7. We talked about all 3 of them early in the show. Fultondale looking for some respect this week. I think if they go out and smash JB Pennington, that would definitely go well for them. Plainview takes a little bit of a drop coming off that disappointing loss to 5 at number 10. T.R. Miller at number 11. You've got, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, the reason T.R. Miller took a drop out of the top 10 was they lost to now number 1 in 4A, Andalusia. So, no, nothing to hang your head about. And then Sylvania coming off that big win over Crossville, finally getting some love in the polls there at number 12. And going back to last week, we actually picked against them. And, I thought Crossville might be just a little too much athletically for them, maybe a little too quick for them. and make enough plays to get out of there with a win. And they did move the ball on, but it was kind of the same story as they had against North Sand. The offensive line took over in the second half and just started pushing Crossville around. So made me look like a dummy basically. But the Rams just too strong for them, and Shavers had a big night and got the win. In an impressive fashion. You got West Morgan there at about 16. Looking to 2A, you got Fife holding strong at number 1. Lynette picks up another first place vote, though, at number 2. Elba at 3. Lafayette at 4. Leroy took a loss last week to Clark County, drops to number 5. You got Aliceville at number 7, who actually lost last week to number 4, or excuse me, number 5, Pickens County last week, 6-0. So they take a little bit of a drop. JU Blackshear, never been ranked, so congratulations to them at number 8. Celigent, we talked about them earlier, looking to take control of that region at number 9. And I think they this may be the first time all year they've been ranked. I'm not positive on that, but I think that could be the case. St. Luke's drops out with a loss to Georgiana. Sandrock sneaking around there at number 12, looking for that big upset win at 5 to just basically bolt them into possibly the top 5, but don't count on that. You got Maplesville just a stranglehold at number 1. Now 103 votes ahead of Sweetwater and Georgiana. Georgiana, as we said, got that big win over St. Luke's, and they're at number 2. And it's the first time they've been ranked this high since 1994, so congratulations to them finally getting some love. We talked about them being so good last year and not getting any love. They're finally getting that respect. Sweetwater is just a just a dominant program in 1A football history, and they're starting to climb back up to those ranks. Houston County off to a great start this year. First time since 2000. They've been 6-0. They're at 4. Pickens County, as we said earlier, coming off a win over a ranked 2A team in Aliceville. They're at number 5. Uh, Wadley, really impressive win over a good 3A team, Beulah, last week, 40-7, holding strong at number 7. Decatur Heritage, we spoke earlier, they got a big game against Addison this week at number 9. Brantley at number 10. And Brantley actually takes on, let's see, I believe they play Houston County this week. I'm not positive, but that would be an epic battle as well. Marengo, coming off that loss to Mobile Christian, drops out of the top 10. Cedar Bluff chimes in at number 14. You got, looks like Garden chiming in at 17. So those teams still trying to fight their way back in the top 10 as the season goes on. Just looking back to last week, we'll give out our team of the week. You got DAR. We actually picked this game, went into Geraldine on homecoming, and got a big win, 19-7. So congratulations to the Patriots as they continue to build that program brick by brick. That pretty much wraps us up for this week. As we've talked about, a lot of huge playoff changing type games this week. The playoffs will begin to get a little clearer as the next few weeks go on, and this will just be one more step in doing that. So I'm your host, as always, Artie Decker. Go out, have a great weekend, be safe, enjoy it, and we'll be back with you next week, good Lord willing. Just save a spot on the fence, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.